Today's guest is Daniel Gomez, a former general manager in the automotive industry, now a corporate trainer, a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, and the title I love, The Confidence Architect. Stay tuned for some great takeaways. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Mastermind. Today we have with us Daniel Gomez. Daniel, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Dave. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I couldn't be better. It's great to have you with us. For those in the audience here who do not know who you are and what you do, give us a little synopsis of what's going on with you.
Man, my name is Daniel Gomez, and I just love people. And I always had a dream of buying my own dealership. As a matter of fact, I was saving up money to buy my own dealership when life happens, right? And what do you do when life happens? And my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. I ended up resigning from the car business, and now I go and instead of helping one dealership, I help many dealerships, Dave. So I just really love pouring my heart and soul into any make, any model dealership because this is the truth of it. We all need some help.
That's for sure. Some of us can admit that more readily than others, but
yeah, because you don't know what you don't know.
yeah, it's very true, and I love that story where you wanna be able to help more than others, and the universe has a way of delivering things to us, right? And had that tragedy not happened in your family, you might be owning a dealership and influencing 30 or 40 people every day, as opposed to hundreds or thousands in a year who you can influence now. So it's funny how the universe works.
Yeah, and actually, it kind of came together because if I wouldn't have been saving for the dealership, I don't think I would have had the peace of mind to start my own business, right? Because I had money saved up, and the money couldn't save my wife, but it gave me the peace of mind that said, "Hey, I can take this time off and really be there for her." And needless to say, like they say in show business, right? The rest is history. I just stumbled my way into some success, and then stumbled my way to a little bit more success, and I just kept falling forward. And I say that because I failed many times, Dave, but it's not how many times you fail, it's how many times you get up. And I'll be honest with you right now, even today I failed, right? It's been a rough last couple of days, just myself. And it's okay. You got to get back up and wipe off the tears. And what can I learn from this? And I think most people, especially men, right? And I say men because not that you don't have women GMs or different women fixed ops running service departments, but I think sometimes men, we don't let our emotions out, and then we take that frustration out on other employees or other customers or in other aspects of the dealership, when in reality it's not even their fault, but it's just the fact that we can't internalize what's going on with us sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I would agree that's much more of a problem with us men than it is with women. They're much better at expressing what's on their mind, which really helps in the business world, right? I mean, we as managers need to be able to manage our teams, but manage emotions, and I would argue that managing emotions is probably much more of the job than it is managing people and managing paperwork and Excel spreadsheets and things.
Yes. You know why though, right? Because we get in a pattern of reacting and reacting and reacting instead of responding. And when you respond, you a lot of times you don't address an issue with the technician that moment, or you don't address an issue with the salesman at that moment. And I've seen it so many times where you have a service director or a general sales manager, and they lash out right in front of other people. And it's just like, you can't do that. You can't. And what I've learned is when you learn to just take a moment, and sometimes it's not even that day. Sometimes you got to wait a day or two. That way your own frustration or anger doesn't come out on that employee, because maybe they did have, how can I say it? They don't know what they don't know. And your perspective as the director or the parts manager or the GSM or the GM, you see things from a different point of view than what your employee does. And sometimes we think they should know. And I think the biggest word that people have misused because it's been used in a negative way, when in reality it's a positive word, right? And the word is ignorance. It's okay to be ignorant. When I started doing what I'm doing, I was ignorant. Like, okay, well, what am I going to do, right? I had a dream to be a trainer, a motivational, like, because when I first came out of the gates, Dave, I was like, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. And everybody was like, ah, you know how many motivational speakers there are that are Mexican? And I'm like, I don't know. None that I think. It was exactly. It goes, and then above that, you know how many motivational, I go, well, no, there's a lot. I'm like, well, we're going to add one more to the mix. So,
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is ignorance, and not in a bad way. And I think another word that gets used is manipulating. Gets used in a negative way a lot of times, and a lot of times when you're dealing with those situations, you need to be able to manipulate the emotions of someone. And again, I don't mean that in a negative way at all. But sometimes when that person is ignorant of the situation, you need to be able to educate them on the situation, and in that way, through that education, manipulate the way that they feel about the situation and the way that they look at the situation.
yeah. And I love that you said that, because everybody needs direction right now. Like just the other day, it wasn't even a car dealership I was at, because we just bought God bless us with a brand new home. So we went and bought a refrigerator, and every place we went to, like, you have to wait at least a month or so before you get an appliance right now, because everything's on back order, right? Because of COVID.
Because of COVID, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy was telling me, I said, yeah, so I just asked him, right? Because, you know, I train and I do this. And I said, well, what do you do when somebody comes in upset? They're like, well, actually, corporate gave us permission not to service them. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. like Lowe's has the right now to turn away somebody. And I was like, wow, right? But I say that because that just shows how sensitive people are right now with everything that's going on.
Right.
And I think what happens is this, Dave, is that when we're scared, we get angry and we react in a frustrating manner that's non-professional. Mm-hmm. And it's really the fact that the customer's probably saying, man, I'm just scared. I need some help. Like, help me out. Yeah. But in that, we don't internalize that. And then we react. And then next thing you know, we got two people yelling. And then we take it out on somebody else, when it's like, hey, just take a deep breath and let's see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's as much managing their anxiety as it is managing your own anxiety. And you're right. During these times, there's a lot of people that have a lot of pent-up frustrations and anxieties that we're not privy to. We don't know what's going on in their life. And from us in the automotive business, we've been deemed essential. So most of us have been working this whole time, but we have no idea what that person that's bringing their car in has been through. You know, they could have been a self-employed person that was unemployed, and in the first few months of that unemployment, there was no, in Massachusetts and things, there was no unemployment insurance for a self-employed person. So, you know, you don't know that. You have no idea what that person has been through. And so, you know, $100 repair might be a major deal for that person. Yeah. So you've always got to be prepared to manage the anxieties of not just yourself, but of others around you.
Yeah, and one thing that I want just to communicate also is the way those external customers are important. And we kind of talked this about in the think tank that we were a part of. Is like, you have to take care of the internal customers too. And I think a big part of the things that we need to really address is, don't forget about your internal customers, which is your parts counter guy, your back parts counter guy, your sales department, your receptionist, right? Everybody in any organization, but especially in a dealership right now, everybody's important and everybody's your customer. And when you realize and you treat that mechanic, or you treat even that porter, right, or that parts runner, everybody's important. So we have to remember to take care of those internal customers, Dave, right now, especially. It's very, very
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you said we spoke about that in the Fixed Ops Mastermind last Tuesday night. And it's really a great point. And it goes back to what you said earlier, which was to respond, not react. Right. And we've got to keep that in mind in our interactions with everybody that we deal with internally in the dealership, because like you said, or like I was saying, you don't know what they're dealing with outside, whether it's COVID or not COVID. We don't ever have any idea what somebody is dealing with outside of work. So you got to always maintain that. I love that respond, don't react. That was one of the things that I took down from last Tuesday inside the Fixed Ops Mastermind when you said that. That is it's a short a short quote that has a massively large meaning when you really start to look at it.
Yeah, and you know what else? What I just realized is because I was on another podcast, and it was actually one of my guests, and she was this. I was reading her bio, right, and she was. I gotta admit, I was like, man, this woman knows her stuff, right? She's a doctor, Dr. Sophie, master at NLP and all this other stuff, and I'm reading this, but what stuck out to me in her bio, Dave, was the fact that I was reading it, and then I was like, certified laughter yoga instructor. So that just stayed in my brain, right? So then I'm like, the whole podcast, it went a whole different direction. I said, I see all your stuff that you do here, all your certifications, and I mean, I praise you for that, right? I recognize that, but talk to me about this laughter certified yoga instructor. And she's like, yeah. And we laughed through that whole podcast, but you know what the beauty of that is, Dave? The reason I bring it up is because right now we forgot to laugh, because it reminded me how long it had been that I've actually laughed and laughed and laughed and just really laughed a good laugh. And one of the best medicines is laughter.
Yes.
And I want to encourage your audience right now. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like, man, numbers ain't right, just things ain't right, a big part of that is you have a lot of emotions that are just tied up in your heart and your soul. And you got to release those endorphins. And the best way to do that is change your state of mind. And laughter is the best medicine. It's proven. I can't think of the movie that Robin Williams did, but it just shows how a doctor used laughter to help heal some of his patients, right? Mm-hmm. It was proven scientifically. So right now in this moment, I want to encourage your audience, hey, it's okay to just disengage and have a good laugh. Because I'm talking to myself, because I'll tell you, after we recorded that episode, man, I was just laughing. We saw a funny movie. And I felt so much better. I just it was like a stress reliever.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think sometimes in this industry, I mean, laughing is a pretty simple thing, but obviously very powerful. But just the whole mindset and stepping back and not analyzing, that'd be the wrong word, but kind of just getting into yourself and I think mindset's probably the best word for that, but it is kind of shunned in this industry a bit, right? And probably because it's such a male-dominated industry, and everybody's trying to be the testosterone-filled guy there, and you can't talk about mindset and meditation and all that kind of stuff. But it is so unbelievably important in life.
Yeah, but you know what I found out? I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing that I found out is I've learned the difference between a false self-confidence and real certainty, right? There's a difference. And a lot of times you see these leaders that portray confidence, and when I get with them one-on-one, it's like, so what are you scared about? What do you mean, right? That ego steps up. I said, look, you hired me to help you, so I'm trying to help you. Like, what's really going on behind the scenes? And you'd be surprised how many people that you think are portraying confidence, it's really just a shield of insecurity and a false self-confidence.
Yes.
And one thing that I've learned is whenever you go into a boardroom, whenever you go into a meeting, the loudest one that speaks first is usually the one that's most insecure.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
Somebody came to mind.
Probably more than one. I can tell you, Daniel, I certainly have never been the guy that talked the loudest in meetings and things, but I have definitely been the guy who has tried to shield my imposter syndrome with a sense of overconfidence, because of that fear you have, right, as either a young leader or somebody who's striving to be a leader. It's scary to admit that you're wrong about something. And as you learn and as you grow, you realize that although it might be scary, it is the best way to build confidence and build certainty and to build your knowledge, is to admit that you don't know something. because there's so many people out there who are willing to help you learn what you don't know. But like you said, if you don't know what you don't know, and you never admit that you don't know something, then you never will. I lost your audio, Daniel. You're very quiet. Nope, you're gone. Nope, you're very, very quiet.
Now?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. The thing that I love to tell some of these upper level management said, hey, just take a page from my automotive sales training part of my of my training, right? They're like, what do you mean? Yeah, I tell a repeat. Let every customer know you're repeat for the first 6 months because they're going to help you sell them the car, right? They're going to help you close the deal for them. They're going to sell themselves because they're going to have that natural human empathy, understanding comes in. And when you just say, this is what I tell the salespeople. Tell the customer, look, if it's important to you, it just became important to me. And sometimes as managers, we need to say that to ourselves, right? We need to say that to our staff or to a customer. I'm not sure, but if it's important to you, it just became important to me. That little word track right there will save you a lot of stress, will save you a lot of just headaches because the moment you try to fib your way through or lie your way through, it's going to come back and bite you in the tail. It's going to bite you in the ass. And the moment the customer says, well, man, with Daniel, I love the fact that he was just being real, right? He didn't know, but it's important to him, so he's going to find out. At least I know hanging the bullshit means he's going to give me the real answer. But how many times do we talk our way through something when out of fear and it's not reality, and then we find ourselves in trouble, and that part's on back order or that car, whatever reason, we use that excuse. Well, the part's in Oklahoma and it's the only one in the country and it won't be here. When in reality, it's like you don't know what you're talking about, but you're just using that to buy you, an extra day or something.
Right. Exactly.
And I think when we say, I'm new, I'm not sure, but if it's important to you, Dave, sir, it just became important to me. I'm going to do my best to find out for you. I think people respect that even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that even if you're not new, I mean, I've been in this industry 30 something years, and I'm happy to say to a customer, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find it out. I'll find the answer. That's not a problem. But I'm not going to stand in front of you and tell you that I know the answer, or I'm going to pretend that I know the answer. That being able to be vulnerable, how do I say that word? Vulnerable like that with a customer is a powerful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this in my business training. Integrity is everything. You have to be a person of integrity. And it amazes me how many times I go somewhere and that integrity piece is missing. Why things ain't going the way they need to go in the business, whether it's the parts department or whatever it is. If I have this saying that I do in all my trainings, right? Shortcut equals short pay checks. Shortcut equals short pay checks. If you as a manager are taking shortcuts, you see that. You can try to hide it or whatever way, give your reasoning behind it, right? They're really excuses, but you're giving it's a reason. It's what we use.
Right.
But if somebody sees you doing it, they're just going to mimic what you're teaching them. And then we wonder why we're not as profitable. It's like, just be a person of integrity. Hey, if it's a mistake and you lose $25, if you lose $100, just take it. It's a lesson learned. Move forward.
Yes.
But don't lie and rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right. Yeah, that's that may be a hard lesson to learn, and it may be for some managers in the automotive industry, for a lot of managers, and I'm sure it's the same in some other industries, but in the automotive industry, as you know, the manager is typically he was the next guy for the seat, and he may not have been the next best guy for the seat, but he was the next guy for the seat, and he got moved in there with absolutely no training. And was expected to run a business and lead people, just because he may know numbers well or whatever it is. And because of that, I think that that piece there of being able to admit when you make a mistake can sometimes be difficult for the leaders in the automotive world because I think they've clawed their way up there without the training and don't want to ever admit that they
Yes.
don't know something but for fear of either being found out an imposter even though they may know their stuff, or for fear of losing their job to somebody else because
Yeah.
they did know an answer they didn't.
Well, it goes back to the old saying, right? It's like just because somebody's a great salesman doesn't mean they're a great manager, or just because somebody's a great mechanic doesn't mean they'll make a great service director.
Yes.
And I think you're right. You have somebody that does good. They run good numbers. They run good ROs, and they run like the copy's good in the service department, and then they put them in a position that they've never had the people.
Mm-hmm.
They've never had the communication skills. And in upper level management, it's you got to learn how to communicate. You got to communicate with your people, and
Right.
that's the number one. And I bring it up because that's the number one thing that most leaders miss is that communication. Because I think it's over 80% of leadership gets stuck on that first level of leadership, and that's entitlement leadership. Hey, Dave, you're going to respect me because I'm Daniel Gomez and I'm the service director. And that's the way they lead, right? By intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never going to get the results that you want. But it's not, a lot of times, like you said, it's not the fault of the person in that position. It's the fact that maybe their group, their automotive group, didn't give them the training that they needed. And right now, when I go into a lot of these organizations, a lot of these dealerships, they need that. You see it. They're not. I'm like, you don't recognize that, right? And the big part of it is this: is think about it this way. And I use this in my training when I do my leadership training in dealerships. Is that we all have children. I have 3 children. How many children do you have, Dave?
3.
3. Okay. Boys, girls?
2 boys and a girl.
Okay. Great. Good answer, right? Because even though you have 2 boys, right? You don't father them the same, do you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So why would we lead 2 employees the same way?
Mm-hmm.
And I want your audience to get that because you said you have 3 kids, 3
Yep.
children, 2 boys and 1 girl. And I said those 2 boys because even though you have 2 boys, you don't father them, you don't parent them the same way, even though they're both males.
Mm-hmm.
But we take that approach in management and we want to lead people everybody the exact same way, and you can't because every one of your mechanics, every one of your parts people, every one of your sales professionals is unique. They have their own DNA, and that's the part that we forget is that everybody's unique.
Yes, that is an absolutely great point and a great way to put it because as you spend more time in this industry and learn more about people and it's not just the industry, it's people in general. There are not 2 people in this world, I think, that I could lead the same way, because everybody has their little idiosyncrasies about things. Some people a certain word they don't like to hear that, and some people don't want to be talked to in a certain tone. It's learning all kinds of different things about people and being able to use that to lead them in the way that they will respond the best, because it's about them in the end, right? It's not about us. It's about getting them to reach their full potential. And so therefore we need to be able to communicate effectively with them to get them to their full potential.
Yeah, and we're human beings. That's what we forget. We're human beings, and as human beings, we want 2 things. We were designed by our Creator this way. We want to be loved, and we want to be appreciated. And when you learn to love and appreciate your staff, your employees, in a new level, and not that you don't appreciate them, but there's always the next level of appreciation. There's always the next level, and the word for love, right? In the automotive industry is value. When you value people more,
Mm-hmm.
they can sense it and they'll do anything you ask them to do. That's how I was able, Dave, to take over a Chevrolet dealership that was losing $1 million in the red. I mean, real $1 million. People thought I was crazy because I took this job. And they said it was going to take me like 3 or 4 years to turn it around. We did it in a year and 2 months. We were in the black $1 million. That's a $2 million swing in a year and 2 months. And that was because all I did was like you said, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was a GSM/GM, And I just answered to the owner. I was like, I don't know, but I know if I love people, they're going to respond if I value them.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, it's like people were doing things you weren't even asking them to do because they just wanted to be a part of a winning team. And everybody, and this is the thing we forget as leaders is you don't have to force somebody to be a part of a team. Everybody wants to be a part of a winning team.
Right.
So just create the culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a similar type story. I took over a Nissan store who had been last in their region for CSI for 3+ consecutive years every single month. They had never climbed out of last place for 3+ years, not even one time. They couldn't even get enough of a bump to come out of last place one time. And I'll never forget, because my first day at that dealership, there just happened to be some Nissan people there from corporate. And one of those people said to me, "Oh, good luck with this store." Like in a way, like even Nissan was like, "Yeah, this place will never be fixed." Well, 11 months later, we were number one. It took
Boom,
11
baby.
months.
Woo!
Yeah. To turn that around, to change that culture, here's the expectation. Every customer is treated right. You all will be treated right, and everybody, like you said, everybody wants to play for that team. When you're
Yeah.
winning, everybody wants to be there with you.
Yeah. I mean, the rise and fall of any dealership is on leadership, right? On management.
Yes.
And when we own that, when we take responsibility and we don't, this is what I call it. I said, stop managing like you're like a helicopter mom. and then it upsets some people, but hey, I anchor it on that, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you're not a helicopter mom. How's a helicopter mom all over their kids doing
Yeah.
this? You don't got to be all over. If you have a team lead, or if you have your floor manager, let them take care of it. If you have your service director, let them take care of it. You don't need to be your service manager. You don't need to be all over him. Trust
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Let him.
Yeah.
If he's gonna mess up, hey, this is a one rule that I live by, and I think if anybody listening to your podcast right now can learn something from me, is this was my attitude. I would tell my team, we're gonna make mistakes today. I don't care if you make 100 mistakes or 1,000 mistakes. I don't care. But the moment you make the same mistake twice, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yes.
But you have the liberty to screw up, to make a mess one time.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do it 1,000 times every time new. But the moment we repeat that mistake, we're not learning. And that's what I don't agree with.
Right.
And when it's amazing when you give them the liberty to make 1,000 mistakes, you know how many mistakes they make? One or
Very
two.
few. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they feel free.
Right. I just did a solo episode of the podcast a couple weeks ago, and it was empowerment versus micromanagement. That empowerment is one of the words that I use with my team. I want them. I don't want to be the guy that has to decide all the time whether something goes to service policy. If it's the right thing for the customer, then do it. And like you said, if it's the second time we've done it, okay, then we'll talk about it. And maybe even the first time, we may have a conversation about it to just say, all right, I wouldn't have done it that way. I probably would have said this, done this, whatever. So it's a nice teachable moment. And it's amazing how many times things don't happen a second time, right? When you give them that, it's amazing. It's not just your dog being scolded for peeing on the rug. It's that you gave them the freedom and to do what they needed to do, and they appreciate that, and then they feel, the word you used earlier, valued as a team member.
Well, think about it this way. I was just having a conversation with my wife because my wife's been. We had here in our home. We made a decision to invest in some office furniture because she'll be working for the rest of the year from the house. I said, well, if you're going to be in your office, I mean, might as well make it nice, right? So we
Yeah,
invest some
absolutely.
office furniture. And she was saying, honey, you realize that our productivity is up this year like never before. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell you why. Because I've been around the environment, right? I've been around some of the work functions they've had. Yeah. And when you're not on people's tails and you just let them breathe, it's amazing what they'll do on their own. And but the moment you're on them and questioning them and nitpicking this, it's like that's why over 70% of corporate employees are disengaged.
Right.
Because of management and leadership.
Right. I think the old phrase, inspect what you expect. I think that phrase gets abused,
Yeah.
and people take that as you have to micromanage people, and that's not really. It's not. It may have been what it was created for, but it is not how I take it. You know, my expectation is for you to take care of the customer and treat them right and all that things and all those things. And you know, my inspecting of that is simply being able to observe you. I can see it through CSI. You can see it through other metrics, but it doesn't mean I have to stand over you and tell you every single thing to say to a customer, every price to charge for something, every time to put something to service policy. That's not how I take that at all. That's what their job is for, and they need to be able to do their job to feel worthy and to feel like they're participating in the success of the team.
Yeah, and then it goes down to accountability. When you hold them accountable, there's a big difference between accountability and micromanaging, and I think that's a good thing. One thing that I want to say too is just when you give people the freedom, they're gonna fly a lot higher than what they normally would if you didn't give them. Just let them fly and give them
Yes.
give everybody a mistake, and you're gonna realize ain't nobody gonna make mistakes.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so true. The mistakes become fewer and fewer as you empower the team. And what I like to say is that the team gets to the point where if you're a football fan, they start to call audibles on their own for things. You know, the play may be laid out a certain way in our process, but they feel the freedom to call an audible, to switch from a pass to a run because that was the right play for the time.
Yeah, I mean it's imperative that we empower our people because in that empowerment, that's where the next level is at. And
Yes.
I've seen this happen so many times that how can I say it? We talk about this in our sales training where it's like we always talk about attitude, but how come we don't really carry that attitude in leadership? You have to carry the positive attitude, positive expectation. As when we walk into that door, right? The customer is buying us. The leader is the customer, right? The leader is the product or service, but who's buying us, right? Which service advisor, which customer is buying that? You got to sell yourself every single day. And what I mean by that is you set the tone. Leadership sets the tone for the day. You set the tone for the day. You set the tone for the productivity, through the energy, through everything. If you walk in a bad mood as a leader of that department, if you walk in a bad mood as a leader of the parts department, whatever department it is, you're already sabotaging yourself. You're already putting yourself right. You're already 2 points down instead of being 2 points up. So
Right.
walk down there, smile, because this is the one thing that I want your audience to see this. It's to hear this. Write this down. A smile opens your customer's wallet. The moment we did that anchor in training, I told everybody, get your wallet out. And they see the wallet in front of their face. I said, you know what's going to open up that wallet? A smile. Because a smile says you're approachable. A smile says that I can trust you. And a smile will open the wallet, right? A smile opens the wallet of your customer. And
Yes.
when we realize how powerful that smile is, I was a smiling fool every day because let me tell you, those wallets were open, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like laughter can help reduce your stress. The smile is the start of that, right?
Yeah.
That's the visual symbol that they're seeing, and you know, even with an upset customer. I mean, obviously you don't need to laugh at an upset customer, but you know, greeting them still with a smile, and you know, telling them that you know your day couldn't be better, and going to help them that way, as opposed to you know greeting them with a frown or a very straight face. It's much better. It disarms people.
Yeah. So let me tell you then. So there's a follow up to that part, right? So a smile opens up the customer's wallet, right?
Hmm.
But this is the beauty about it. Once you expand the wallet of your department, it will never contract. Think
Wow.
about that one.
Yeah.
Once you expand the wallet in your department, it will never contract. Because once everybody starts getting used to making those CSI bonuses, all those different bonuses, everybody's
Yes.
wallet's going to expand in that department. It's never going to contract because you get used to that.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get a taste of that victory and you anchor it in that wallet, it's like, wow, you just got to give them a reason.
Right.
Sometimes we forget that people are visual beings, right? We're taking over 100,000 pictures a second. And when we anchor something to something that's visual, it just gives us that much more motivation, and we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, it's very, very, very true. We are a very visual being, and that's easy to forget in this business. As you're explaining things to people, it's much easier to give them a picture, to show them what their brakes look like rather than just tell them that their brakes need to be replaced. And it's the same in the reverse with greeting them with a smile, and it's trust, right? It all comes down to building that relationship and trust with your customer, what be that an internal or an external customer.
Yeah, and that's all selling is. It doesn't matter what you sell. Selling is a transfer of trust. Once you
Right.
transfer that trust, like, right, look at this. I mean, think about it. We're selling every day. We just forget about it. Every day we're selling ourselves. And if we had that mindset that every day we're selling ourselves, what product are you offering to the people? Think about this. If I was a bad product, you wouldn't have me on your podcast. So some way, somehow, I sold you on the fact, well, you know what, this guy might be not a bad candidate. Maybe he'll be a good for our audience. But if I would have come across the wrong way and you wouldn't have trusted me, you wouldn't have even have entertained it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we forget. Selling is a transfer of trust. And every second of every day, we're always selling ourselves. So
Yes.
how are you presenting yourself? You're the product. How are you presenting yourself to everybody? Because this is one thing that I've learned, especially in the automotive industry, is you never step on people on your way up the corporate ladder. Because
Mm-hmm.
one day you're going to be coming down, and the person that you step on, you're going to be it over and over again.
Yes.
I've seen it over and over again, and I'm pretty sure you have too. Where
Yep.
you have that one service manager or service director that was just totally mean, and somebody was up and coming, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, you see him at another dealership, and it's like, I remember you.
Yeah, I said on another episode of my podcast a favorite quote of my dad's was, "Be careful of the toes you step on today because they may be connected to the ass you need to kiss tomorrow." And it's that same thing, and that has come true, time and time again. It really is a very small big world.
Yeah,
And
and I say it in my life because when I was a manager, I did a lot of. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not going to say that I was perfect by no means, but I always try to value people and love people. Right? I was trying to do that. If I got a burger, hey, bring burgers for my whole team, or hey, you know what? It's everybody's going to be, and that's what's helped me because I've been able to now down the road, 5, 10 years later, people that were salesmen are now general sales managers and so on. They've opened a door for me to go and do trainings at dealerships.
right.
People never forget. People forget what you say, but just the way Maya Angelou said, people never forget how you made them feel.
That's for sure.
And every time you make somebody feel valued, because no one's going to achieve greatness by themselves, Dave. And we forget sometimes in leadership that we think that we did it all. And there's no such thing as a championship team without the team itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Daniel, I think that's a great place for us to step off. That is a perfect finish.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for joining us here on the Fixed Ops Mastermind. It's great to have you here. It was a great presentation last Tuesday night inside the Fixed Ops Mastermind Leaders Group. It was really terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome. And I got a free gift for your audience. If they go to my website, www.danielgomezInspires.com/7 steps, the number 7 and steps, STEPS,
Mm-hmm.
they'll get a free training, 7 steps to fly daily. And it's what I use in my leadership development to help me stay positive, get the morning routine going right. That's danielgomezInspires.com/number 7 steps. And that's my gift to your audience. So thank you so much for having me. And man, it's been a great time with you, my friend.
That's awesome. It has been great. I appreciate the free gift. I will link that up in the show notes so everybody can jump in and get that. Definitely do that. Daniel has some great wisdom to share with you. Daniel, again, thank you very much for being with us. It was awesome having you here.
Thank you, my friend. It was an honor to be here. Boom, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Please go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review us. It helps us get this podcast into as many ears as possible, help as many people as we can. Apple Podcast, rate and review. Thank you.